Hello everyone. Today I wanted to show you what I've been putting together over a few months. I've come to find that trying to run games from my childhood is rather difficult with newer Windows versions, and emulation just isn't that great, so I decided to come up with this. Well, it may not look like much on the surface, and in fact people refer to these Dells as boring PCs. I think the only way it could be more boring is if it were in beige, but I love beige computers. The reason I got it is because at the thrift store it had a beaten up Windows 2000 sticker, and so I was just, oh my god, I have to get it, it's designed for Windows 2000. Well, I was actually in store for a lot more. I started looking online and I realized this has all kinds of support for all the old Windows versions, and I've, essentially realized this is the solution to my problem. But I didn't really know how to get all of the versions on the same computer. I didn't really want to do anything like dual boot or, triple boot in this case. I figured that would just be really sloppy, so I started searching far and wide, and I found these. So there's Windows 95. There you go. And you unlock it. There's your Windows 98. Oh my god. Just tearing out all the royalty-free shit that they can. Just putting it all into one song. I love it. It's the shit that gets me up in the morning. Finally, my favorite operating system of them all, and I'm talking to this day. It's still my favorite operating system. This is extremely stable. If it had, better internet support and wasn't completely prone to being hacked, I would probably use it as a workstation, operating system. It does everything that I want. It runs Reaper, which is fucking crazy, and it runs all the VSTs that I need, which is, I think that's absolutely insane. So it comes as my favorite. So a computer that runs Windows 95, Windows 98, and Windows 2000. Kind of like a cartridge. only a cartridge that you have to lock. I call the rig Trinity for obvious reasons, and as you can see here, it's running everything completely fine. Even down to the USB drives. You can see from here it is running Windows 95, so it runs everything on Windows 98 and 2000 absolutely perfect. The interesting thing about this is that usually these dells are actually extremely limited, but I've been able to do a lot with this one. I've been able to push a lot of limits, as you guys can see, and it's turned out to be really great. It's honestly, it's my go-to. I would recommend it towards anyone that is trying to get into retro gaming. I mean, you can find them at thrift stores for like $10 to $20. People are trying to get rid of them, and they're pretty fantastic for retro gaming. The computer itself is a Dell Optiplex GX150, and I believe it came out in 2001, which actually makes it, in the era of Windows XP. But it's still capable of running Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows 2000, Windows NT, a bunch of other operating systems that are a lot older than Windows XP. I even played with Windows ME, or Me, and as you can see right here, I didn't have much luck. Although it played a lot better with the video drivers, after I reinstalled Windows 2000, it stopped giving me issues, so it was miles easier to use than Windows Me. I took it a step further, and a lot of steps further, and for those of you that actually own this computer, it comes with USB ports. A lot of people say that Windows 95 does not support USB. Well, as a few people know, that is not true. This is a 32 gigabyte flash drive. Let me just pull up my... So as you can see, there's no flash drive there. I'll get to that in a minute. That is something completely different. But let me, keeping the camera on the computer, let me just make sure, because this is going to take a while because I'm keeping my eye out on the camera more than I am there we go. Just so you know, I'm not doing any Houdini bamboozles. And yeah, there's my flash disk. There you go, 29.2, and there's actually no way to properly eject this. I mean, that does eject it, but it doesn't safely eject it, so I had to get a flash drive specifically for this project, just one that I'm not concerned about losing. This is another step that I took further, and this is actually a 500 gigabyte SATA drive. It's a FAT32 system, and it has 500 gigabytes, and I don't have anything in this yet. I could add files just to, if anyone wanted to see, that it actually does contain files and it can store files. But this was just essentially going to be for a backup for all of my, retro games. I wasn't going to have anything running in here because I didn't want any programs to mess up, or in case the drive is ever not there, I don't want something to be missing it. But that's just essentially there for backups, for like just saves and stuff like that, downloading maps or something. I'll put them there rather than on the hard drives themselves. So I'll get more into detail in a minute, but there's the sound card, which has a game port on it, so I can run like older controllers like my Microsoft Sidewinders and a couple other things like the Gravis game ports and game pads and whatnot. There's a TV card. I can plug in like older consoles, I can hook it up to the cable. I can literally watch TV through this computer still, and it still works to this day, and it has drivers for Windows 95, 98, and 2000 respectively. There's a Voodoo 3 2000. It's one of 3DFX's cards. I'm really looking forward to using that for games. I honestly can't wait. And here's the SATA card that I was talking about. I don't know if you can see it past the Voodoo card, but you can definitely see its cable. That goes to the 500 gigabyte hard drive.
it runs off of a riser, which I thought it blew my mind, and that's why I was so adamant in getting this to work. For smaller form factor, you could put a riser right there, which gives it video cards this way, or expansion cards this way, but I have the desktop model, and it came with the riser by default, so it just absolutely blew my mind. The hard drives are, Windows 95. This is a 40 gigabyte hard drive, but I have to cap it at 32 gigabytes, not because FAT32 can't support it. I mean, obviously it can support, 500 gigabytes, but actually because it gives it a bit of problems. If the operating system is on a drive that's larger than 32 gigabytes, it actually gives it some issues. The good part is on the back, if you set jumpers to a certain default, it'll actually limit it to 32 gigabytes, which I thought was really impressive. The next is 80 gigabytes for Windows 98. And last but not least, Windows 2000, which is running off of 120 gigabytes.
Up here we've got what makes the magic work. We've got a mobile rack IDE bay, which is what powers the entire cartridge aspect of this project. That's what lets me take out the hard drives and put them back on the fly. Well, not really on the fly, I have to power down the system first, but relatively on the fly. That's just a CD drive. That in there is just a floppy drive, and that's actually a zip drive. This thing wouldn't exist without the zip 100 drive, to be honest. Before I got USB to work, I was pretty much stranded, and I didn't know how to, get files in here without wasting a bunch of CDs, and a lot of the files don't even end up working, so, that CD is useless. But I discovered Zip 100 pretty much took care of all my needs, and yeah, I'm a huge fan of Zip 100, so to say. And that is actually the 500 gigabyte SATA hard drive. Once I start playing games on this, that'll be what backs up and make sure that everything goes smoothly. I might even start putting like the necessary driver files. A lot of the driver files were actually for, it would be one exe for Windows 95, 98, and 2000. And so one driver file would take care of all of them. It was pretty insane. So I might end up backing them up onto, the 500 gigabyte hard drive, just so they'll always be there in case something happens. Unless something happens to the hard drive itself, so that would kind of defeat the whole purpose, but hoping that would be good for at least backup. I have to give a big shout out to Elite Computers in Eastlake for not only giving me this SATA card for free, not only giving me this Voodoo 3 card for free, but actually giving me this Voodoo 5 5500 for free. Reason being though, is because it's actually broken and does not work. So, I'm calling upon anyone that thinks they can fix this and just pretty much asking for their help. The solder contacts are completely stripped off, so there's nowhere to actually solder on any, spare capacitor, and it's pretty much done for. But I've talked to 4 different experts about this, and 2 that I personally trust, and they've said the same thing, that it's unsalvageable, that I should give up. But I'm not really willing to give up that easily, so if anyone thinks that they can, and that they have a chance to repair this, please contact me. My inbox is open, but for the most part, I think it's pretty dead. Thanks to Elite Computers. I think it's only fair. One of the funniest parts I found about this project is, even though I tried to keep it a bit of a surprise until I made this video, whenever my friends would come over and I would show them, or if someone was asking how I've been doing, what I've been doing, and I kind of told them a bit of a sneak peek about it, a lot of their responses were, "But why though?" And to be honest, the sheer reason is, like I said in the beginning of the video, I find it kind of hard to run a lot of the older games that I've missed from my childhood, and this to test the game, or to test the system, I've run a lot of the old games that I've missed and wanted to play, and they run flawlessly. They run absolutely amazing, and that's that's enough. That is enough reward for me. And with this video, I just kind of wanted to share what I've been doing and, the enterprise that I've been working on. And yeah, I feel really happy about it. I'm finally able to play all of my old games that I've missed from my childhood, and I'm ecstatic about it. Really, I mean, why not? For the glory and honor of Satan, if that's what you want. To take over America, if that's what you want. To hack every computer user in the world, if that's what you want. I mean, to see if I could, and evidently I can. The thing I just really need to point out is just how the case is designed. I mean, seriously, this looks like something you'd frickin' protect in a video game, or where you'd get your weapons or ammo. I mean, honestly, it's ridiculous. It's nothing short of ridiculous. I mean, look at this thing. Even from the front, it just looks ridiculous. It looks like a transformer. I'm not even joking. To be honest, I like the GX150 so much, I went out of my way to find a mini version of it. I mean, it doesn't have the same capability as, its bigger brother in terms of being able to just swap operating systems, but I put Windows 98 on it because I figured that Windows 98 works the easiest on these computers, so I should be able to handle this the easiest, and in fact it even says, designed for Windows 98. So here's just about everything it took to get this computer to life, but as I said before, I probably wouldn't have been able to do this if it weren't for the Zip 100. These are practically floppy disks on steroids. Back then the maximum capacity roughly being 1.44 megabytes, sometimes not even that. With exclusions from your, LS disks, your super disks and whatnot. Floppy disks didn't hold much back then. And a lot of the programs, they would be designed for floppy disks. They would be like 1.4 megabytes, 1.42. And a lot of, home floppy disks, user floppy disks, they wouldn't even be that much. They would be around like 1.38, 1.37. And so a lot of those programs, they just didn't fit on the disks themselves. And so you'd either have to find a different storage medium, like optical disks, or you would just be shit out of luck. If you didn't have any lying around spare, then you'd be just shit out of luck, honestly. And so those made a breakthrough, and those actually put 100 megabytes on floppy disks, and it was basically just like easy flash storage. And just to show you guys that I'm not bullshitting about playing the games, here's my favorite one that came out when I was a child. Ha! 2 in 1. Well, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you got this far, you must like this stuff as much as I do, so please be sure to like, subscribe, and share it to anyone else you think would enjoy it. Happy web surfing!